The flickering fluorescent light hummed above David's cubicle, a monotonous beat to the rhythm of his unfulfilled ambitions. For 5 years, he'd been a cog in the vast machine of Sterling Company in Chicago, dutifully processing data, attending meetings that felt like carbon copies of each other, and watching his colleagues he started with soared past him. His career felt less like a ladder and more like a treadmill, perpetually moving but never advancing. He saw the promotions, the new corner offices, the enthusiastic whispers about rising stars, and a quiet, gnawing frustration began to settle deep within him. It wasn't that David wasn't capable. He was smart, diligent, and reliable. He just lacked that spark, the one thing that seemed to propel others forward. He'd attend workshops, read self-help books, and listened to podcasts, always searching for the secret ingredient. He tried to mimic the assertive tones of his manager, the confident posture of the senior directors, but it always felt forced, a performance rather than a genuine expression. He longed for a motivational story for career growth that truly resonated with him, but all he found were platitudes. One particularly grim Tuesday, his manager, Mr. Harrison, called him into his office. David braced himself for another polite but firm suggestion to be more proactive or think outside the box. Instead, Mr. Harrison sat back, a thoughtful expression on his face. "David," he began, "I see your potential. I truly do. But something is holding you back. You deliver, but you don't lead. You execute, but you don't initiate. What is it that you truly want from your career?" The question hung in the air, heavy and direct. David stammered, offering vague answers about wanting to contribute more, to grow. He left the office feeling exposed. His lack of direction laid bare. That evening, staring out at the rain-streaked cityscape from his apartment window in Lincoln Park, David wrestled with Mr. Harrison's words. What did he want? Beyond the vague desire for promotion and recognition, what truly drove him? He thought of his early days, the excitement of learning, the thrill of solving a complex problem. That feeling had faded, replaced by routine. He realized he wasn't lacking skills. He was lacking genuine purpose, a fundamental internal drive. He needed a personal motivation story for career advancement, not one borrowed from a book. The turning point wasn't a grand epiphany, but a series of small, intentional shifts. It began with a project that no one else wanted, untangling years of disorganized client data. It was tedious, frustrating work, but David, fueled by a quiet defiance against his own inertia, decided to tackle it. He didn't see it as a punishment. He saw it as an opportunity to prove something to himself. He stayed late, meticulously organizing, cross-referencing, and identifying patterns no one else had noticed. He wasn't doing it for praise, but for the satisfaction of bringing order to chaos. As he delved deeper, he started to see connections, potential insights that had been buried under layers of disarray. He began to ask questions, not just about the data, but about why it mattered, how it impacted other departments, and how it could be used to better serve clients. His inquiries, once hesitant, became more confident, driven by genuine curiosity. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was genuinely invested in understanding and improving. This was his true motivation story for career growth, unfolding in real time. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, things began to change. His colleagues noticed his dedication to the data project. When a new system was being implemented, David, with his newfound knowledge of the old data's intricacies, became the unofficial go-to person. He found himself speaking up in meetings, not with rehearsed statements, but with well-informed suggestions born from his deep dive. He wasn't trying to be a leader. He was simply leading by genuinely engaging with the work. One morning, months after their initial conversation, Mr. Harrison called David into his office again. This time, there was a different energy. "David," he said, a genuine smile on his face, "the work you've done on the client data has been transformative. But more than that, I've seen a shift in you. You're engaged, you're proactive. You're finding solutions before anyone even realizes there's a problem." "What changed?" David paused, a smile of his own forming. "I stopped waiting for someone to give me permission to care," he replied simply. "I realized that the one thing wasn't a skill or a strategy. It was finding my own reason to be invested, my own internal drive to make a difference, no matter how small the task seemed." He understood now that his motivation story for career was about ownership, about finding purpose in the details and letting that purpose guide his actions. He hadn't just cleaned up data. He had cleaned up his own outlook. A few weeks later, an internal announcement went out. David was being promoted to senior analyst, tasked with leading a new initiative to optimize client relations using the very data he had so painstakingly organized. He wasn't just a cog anymore. He was a vital part of the engine, driving it forward. The fluorescent light in his new, slightly larger cubicle still hummed, but now, it felt less like a monotonous beat and more like a quiet affirmation of a journey truly begun. He finally had his own motivation story for career success.